Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to the 50th episode of Tech It Out. Yes, it's been almost a year since the show launched on the Radio America Network and its fantastic stations that it services, and the podcast is about 6 months old. Well, however you're listening to us, we're happy to have you around on this weekly program about technology. But it's a show that doesn't just celebrate tech, but my goal is also to help demystify it. Tech It Out is powered by ASUS, which I'll tell you about more in a moment, but we have a great show for you today. In a moment, we'll talk with Intel about choosing a new PC. We'll catch up with your doctors online about free online healthcare, and we'll talk with RightMesh, and they're going to chat with us about an initiative to give wireless connectivity to people in countries who otherwise can't afford it. Let's dive right in. If you're in the market for a new computer, I know it can be overwhelming out there. You need to decide on a form factor, like a laptop or desktop, what brand to go with, what operating system, what specs are important, how much to spend, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. If you or someone you know needs a little help, we're joined on the line by Lisa McManus. She's an account executive at Intel, so who better to turn to? Welcome to the program, Lisa, and thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. When a friend of yours or a family member says, okay, Lisa, I need to look for a new PC, what do you answer back or ask them back just to get the conversation going?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is to understand, what are they using the device for? What will you be using it for? Mm-hmm. The second thing is, do you need this to be a mobile device so it can move with you, or is it okay to be in a fixed location? I think once you decide whether it's mobile or fixed, that really gives you a really clear indication of the form factors you mentioned, whether it be desktop or a notebook type of scenario.
Okay. And a notebook and a laptop, you use those terms interchangeably, probably,
yes.
Right? As I do. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. I just wanted to clarify. Okay. So a desktop, a stationary computer that needs to be plugged into the wall is still ideal for often in a business environment, in a cubicle or in an office. Or I always recommend, Lisa, I don't know if you agree with this, for parents of young kids, for their first computer, I often recommend to have a stationary computer in a highly trafficked area of the home so they can kind of keep an eye on whether little ones are going online. And a keyboard and mouse is also a little bit more comfortable on a desktop, I would argue, because you can sort of pivot and adjust the keyboard and mouse better than you can on a laptop.
Absolutely. You can get bigger monitors. So depending on, to your point, it's a really great way to keep your eye on the little guys and what the content they're using is. Mm-hmm. You've got great speakers generally with desktop. So yeah, absolutely agree with you. It's definitely a great design. And the other element is, desktops come in lots of forms too, right? You have very slim desktops. You have all-in-ones that are integrated. So there's a lot of great options for families, and totally agree with it. The traffic area, it's a great way to manage the security.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I like the touch-enabled all-in-ones because, as you said, the computer is actually tucked in behind the monitor, so it's a nice, clean look. You just plug that one thing into the wall, and then you can use a keyboard and mouse or your fingertips on that screen as a family in order to consume content, which is great. Now, so going into laptops or notebooks, this is probably ideal for those who want some portability. Maybe you're a student on the go or an executive who's on the run and you're going out of town, and you want something that is light and thin. And that's certainly one of the biggest differences with a laptop in 2018 compared to, say, 10 or even 5 years ago, right?
Absolutely. Like the design for the CPU, which basically is the brains of the computer, has continually evolved and allowed for thinner and thinner devices. So, and this really, equates to portability for an average user, whether it's for work or home use or travel. You've got a great lineup where you can have anything from an 11-inch up to a 17-inch portable device, right? So you have a choice. Is it super portable, you want super small, or semi-portable where you can go with a bigger screen? So there's loads of choices, but the weight and size has been reduced so much, it's incredible.
My old laptop, I affectionately referred to it as the Backbreaker 3000. Yeah, I used to have to lug this, as a traveling journalist. I would say to my wife when I came home, my back is killing me. But that is a thing of the past. My laptop now is ridiculously thin and light with an all-day battery. It sips rather than gulps power because of these new Intel chips, which we'll get to in a moment, as well as just touch-enabled screens that also can turn into a tablet. We'll talk about that 2-in-1 movement in a moment, but certainly things have really changed. All right, so someone says, Lisa, I need to buy a computer. So you first identify the use case, where they're going to use it. So it could be a laptop for portability. It could be a desktop for stationary use, which is also probably better still for gamers, even though there are some really hardcore laptops out there with tons of power, but still a lot of gamers prefer a stationary device with a big monitor. And then there are also these laptops that also can convert into a tablet. So why don't we talk about 2-in-1s now, or convertible PCs, which are trendy?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, number one, if it's a tablet, it's on their knee and they're easy to play. They're generally always touch. So very simple and generally align with what the kids are playing, right? All their games are generally touchscreen based. So, I think it's a great solution for, that portability. You've got that flexibility. Do you want to have it like a tent, like a video, like a screen, or a tablet mode? So lots of uses. And it's amazing how you don't realize you need it until you have one. Then you realize how flexible and easy it is, right? Whether it's to drive your TV, for example, even, or your smart TV, right? It's great.
Yeah, no, I love 2-in-1s. I love the versatility of them. And as you said, Lisa, and our guest again is Lisa McManus, account executive at Intel. I love the fact that it's kind of like best of both worlds. I can use it in laptop mode when I need to write an article, but at any time I can flip that screen back on its 360-degree hinge, put it on my lap, and now flick through videos and photos and games using my fingertips like it was a standalone tablet. And then there are these other modes that you mentioned, like Tent, which is kind of like an upside-down V, where if you don't have a lot of space on your desk or countertop, you can watch a movie in that way, in that form factor, and maybe engage in a video call. And then the last of the 4 different positions is often called presentation mode or display mode, where you've got the keyboard face down on the table or desk, and the screen is up as well. So there's lots of different ways to use it. So these are collectively referred to as 2-in-1s, or sometimes a convertible PC, something I know Intel has pioneered a couple of years ago, but now getting thinner and lighter with a longer battery. So it's a win-win all around. So let's now talk about the role of a processor. So as you said earlier, Lisa, the CPU is kind of like the brains of the laptop. A similar analogy that I use is that it's like the engine that drives your laptop's performance. So why is it important to choose one brand over another? And how do you decide which of the, for example, Intel CPUs to go with, like Core i3, i5, or i7?
Yeah, I think, it's a broad family, as you know, anywhere from Celeron, Pentium, i3, i5, i7, but it really depends on what you're using it for. It's like everything. You can align your purchase to what you use the machine most for. So folks that are, doing potentially a typical Facebook, email, surfing kind of thing can really get a good response from a Celeron or a Pentium device. But the more complex your computing gets, which means like if you're using more complex programs or you're doing gaming or Photoshop, etc., you need more computing power to handle the applications that you're using. So that's where you really need to start stepping up the line. So you want to make sure that basically the CPU and the device you're using, you're not underbuying for your power needs, right? So if you're a gamer that, it's super interested in VR and or you do a lot of Photoshop or digital editing or 4K kind of, stitching, etc., or streaming, you want to make sure that your CPU is aligned to that. So you want to make sure you're buying the right device to make sure you're happy and you're able to do multiple activities at once with no performance impact. So I think it's really important to try to align that.
you brought up a good point. The CPU isn't just for power to run applications, but it's also for multitasking. So the better the processor, the smoother you can have different windows open at the same time. And if you've ever seen a teenager on a laptop, they certainly have a lot going on, as well as battery life, power management. A lot of people don't usually associate the CPU or the chip with battery. They always think, oh, it's the size of the battery, but that's not the whole story. It's also partly the CPU. And that brings us to the 8th gen Intel Core processor, which are powering a lot of the new computers today. And they have made marked improvements in power, speed, efficiency, multitasking support, and embracing these newer technologies like you mentioned, like virtual reality, which is great. Tell me if this analogy works for you, Lisa. I often give this to, when I'm talking to people who are buying a new computer, I say that buy a computer like you were buying clothes for your kids. Go an extra size or two, meaning a little bit more power than you think you need, and so you don't have to replace that computer so quickly. Like, spend a little bit more now so you can spend less later. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's so important, Mark, because, you never know what your next favorite game developer is going to come up with, right? Or, the new release of a new software could be that little bit more that you need. And that is definitely a little bit of future proofing, right? When you purchase a little more than you use today. Absolutely agree with you.
Yep. I usually tell people start with a Core i5, even if you do light tasks like you mentioned, like Facebook and email, because it will be more power than you need today, but you may find yourself a Fortnite fan in a couple of months, so you want to be prepared. And then Core i7 is for more of the power user, like you mentioned. Then we don't really have time today to talk about it, but there's even now a Core i9, an overclocked way of getting even more power and performance out of your computing if you are into computer games and so on. Lisa McManus, thanks so much for your time, and have a great summer.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the opportunity.
We'll be right back on Tech It Out.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Depending on where you live, you may have to pay to see a doctor. But what if you can't afford to do so? Or perhaps you received a diagnosis from a physician, but you want a second opinion. As the name suggests, Your Doctors Online offers online medical advice from top specialists. It's free and on demand 24/7. Joining us to explain how it works is Nauman Jafar. He's the co-founder of Your Doctors Online. Welcome to the show, Nauman.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me back again.
Yeah, pleasure. Yes, I have talked to you in the past with some of your other businesses. I know you're a very busy man, so I appreciate your time. Your Doctors Online is what we're talking about today. Tell us at a very high level what this service is.
Mark, imagine a world where everybody and everywhere in the world will be able to get free healthcare. That is the service that we are providing. Your Doctors Online provides free healthcare online on internet for anybody to register and chat with a doctor for free.
Okay, and when you say chat, it's a text chat or is it a phone call over the internet?
It is it's a text chat.
Okay.
There is a phone call, which is a paid service, but 24/7 we have doctors who are waiting on lines, receiving chats and responding to them.
Okay, we'll chat about the paid service in a moment, but you said primarily Your Doctors Online is free, and that's for a text-based conversation with a physician somewhere in North America, and this is a qualified, vetted professional who you can be in touch with. So walk us through the process. It's a website, right? It's not an app yet, but walk us through what you need to do in order to initiate that conversation.
So, Mark, the first thing that people have to do is they have to go to yourdoctors.online. Our website, in fact, is mobile friendly. 80% of the traffic that we are getting today is actually coming from a mobile, a smartphone.
Okay.
So as soon as they go onto the website, they see there are buttons there which says try it for free, and it's absolutely free. There's no credit card required. They register with their email address. We will soon be bringing in Google and Facebook registrations as well. Mm-hmm. So as soon as they register, we ask them a bunch of questions that can be filled literally in about 30 seconds to a minute. We ask them their age, their gender, what is the health issue, any symptoms that we need to know. As soon as they hit the submit button, there is a doctor that is waiting to chat with them. It's as simple as that.
That's amazing. And these are GPs? They're just regular physicians, not like specialists, like a heart expert or a podiatrist or something like that?
Yeah, the free chat is being provided by young doctors who have, who are technology savvy, and they are sitting on their desktops, on their mobile phones, responding to these queries, and they are provisioned and supervised by a very senior doctor here in North America.
Okay. How many people are using Your Doctors Online right now?
We have close to about 20,000 members globally, Mark, who are actually registered with us in the last 6 months.
Okay, so registration is mandatory, but it's pretty simple, but no credit card is needed for the free service, which lets you engage in a real-time text chat with a physician so you can explain what your ailments are, and you hopefully will get an answer that is meaningful to you, maybe with some advice. But then what if you do want to pay and elevate the level of service? Does that include like a phone call, for example, or a video chat?
Yeah, so we have all of those services, and there's certain services that we're building as we speak. The next level of service is what we call Become a Member, which is about $9.99 US per month. We provide a number of services as part of that. It includes a sick note. It includes a medical refill, a prescription refill that they want to get sitting at home. It also, by the way, will include by the end of this month a 10-minute conversation, and this is primarily for U.S. and Canadian patients who want to actually have a phone conversation with a doctor. So as soon as they pay and become a member, we will allow a 10-minute conversation with a doctor and a few other services. So that's the $9.99 membership service that we are in the process of launching right now.
And for the free version, where you don't have to pay anything, are you limited to one conversation with a physician and that's it? What if, a month later there's something else wrong that you want to talk to a doctor about?
It's all free, and you can have unlimited chat as we speak right now. It is we're giving 3 months free service. In fact, 30% of the traffic that we get today are people who are returning with their or their family's issues and chatting with our doctors.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's great. And who do you think is your target audience? Is it older folks? Is it younger people, like people who don't have their own doctor? Who would you say your target demographic is?
So our target demographic is primarily women aged 18 to 34. That's our primary target. But these are women who are actually more smartphone users. They want to actually have the convenience, the confidentiality, and they don't shy away from having a technology conversation with somebody over a chat.
Okay. But you don't really need to be tech savvy to have a conversation with somebody with texting, right? Like even my mom, who's 78 years old, she texts me and the grandkids and all that. So, I mean, really, it's that easy, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. 40% of our traffic is actually from U.S. and 60% of traffic, whether, you won't believe it, but it is from outside of North America. Mark, the most interesting part of all of that is basically we are spending absolutely nothing, in fact, $0 on marketing. And people are just rushing to our website, the word of mouth, and people are telling each other through social media, through other sources. And we have spent absolutely nothing over the last 6 months on marketing.
That's great. I can imagine people will Google something like free doctor or medical advice or something like that. And your website will be one of the top ones that shows up. Is that right?
Absolutely. That is exactly what is happening. Okay. So today, 90% of our traffic is coming through Google, where people actually want a service and they don't want to pay for it.
We'll be right back with Naman Jafar from Your Doctors Online. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
We're chatting with Naman Jafar. He's the founder of Your Doctors Online. The website for a free consultation with a physician is yourdoctors.online. You said it's confidential. I can imagine that being extremely important. So is it that the doctors that you have brought on for the service have to sign something that they will respect, patient confidentiality, or how does it work exactly? Is it encrypted, the conversation?
Absolutely. So the privacy and the trust of the patient is our number one priority. And it's easier said than done. Mark, we've spent lots and lots of time and money on making sure three things. Number one, the conversation that is happening between the doctor and the patient is all highly encrypted. So that's one. The second thing is that we are also, all of our data resides here in North America. So we've actually followed strict HIPAA and PHIPAA compliance regulations. And then the third thing that we have done is that we make sure that we have all the security and privacy policies within the company, with our doctors, with our other employees, and even the founders, where even somebody like myself, who's a founder, does not have access. And we anonymize the patient data as soon as we get that. So what it means is that, Mark, if you come in, you register, and you chat with us, we will remove your email, so we will not be able to see who actually wrote what health issue that they have had.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And then I'm assuming, as we wrap up, Naman, if there's an issue that really needs to be seen by a doctor, does the virtual doctor recommend someone in that city? Maybe they're in Chicago or maybe they're in Vancouver. Will they say, oh, here, you can visit this person if you like?
Yeah, we do, but that is not our core business. So we have, as I said, we have the free GP service that we've talked about so far. We also have people who are coming from all over the world to seek a medical opinion, a second medical opinion.
Okay.
So, Mark, I'm not sure whether you know this, but after heart attack and cancer, in North America, the third leading cause of death is medical misdiagnosis. So people do come to us who have already had a medical diagnosis, and they want to make sure that before they get the treatment, the radiation or the surgery or whatever it is, they do seek a second opinion from our specialists as well.
Okay, I understand. Okay, and then finally, where are we going forward here with Your Doctors Online? Where do you envision this service in, say, 5 years?
So here's my humble goal, Mark. I want to make just like other things in life. I want to. My vision and our team's vision, the founder's vision, is to make healthcare free for everywhere, anywhere in the world. I know we are extremely blessed here in Canada, where we have healthcare free. And I have the same vision to make it all free for everybody, at least the basic level for GP. That should be something that we absolutely have free. And then, I can quickly talk about how do we plan to make money. If with the membership fee that we talked about, if people want to be prioritized in front of the queue, if they want to chat with the doctor in terms of having a conversation, if they want to make sick notes, we or provide the convenience where they don't have to leave their homes. So that is the second level of service that we want to pay. In fact, people like our service so much, you will actually be surprised that people are asking us, and they're starting to leave donations for us, as an example.
Oh, neat.
And which is very interesting, we found over the last few months, where they're saying, how do you monetize this? So there's a lot of ways that we can make money later on, but
Sure.
Our goal right now is to provide and make basic healthcare free for everybody in the world.
And for that premium service, Naman, is that, when you said it was $9.95, is that per month, per year?
It's per month. We will have both options. We will have a $9.99 US per month option, where you get a lot of things for a part of that bundle. Or there will be a $29 option, which we have today, where if they want a one-time access to a doctor, a one-time sick note, a one-time refill,
right,
those services will also be available.
All right, Naman, good luck with this. It sounds fantastic. I want our listeners to check it out at yourdoctors.online. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mark, for helping us spread the word.
Hey, we've got time for me to reach into the old mailbag to answer a tech question. You can always reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Mark_Saltzman. That's Mark with a C _SALTZMAN. You could also find me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So this question is from Fred P. from Etobicoke, who writes, I've heard a hacker can access my webcam and watch me in front of my computer. Could this really happen? The answer is yes, it is technically possible for someone to do this, though it's not very likely, statistically speaking, that is. But if you are concerned about someone accessing your webcam without your consent, there are a few things you can do to minimize the odds of that happening. For one, if it's an external webcam, something that you plug in to a desktop computer, for example, or a laptop, you can just connect it when you need it. So always keep it unplugged until you want to use Skype or FaceTime or what have you, and then plug it in. Secondly, some external webcams have a small cover that you can close over the webcam lens, so be sure you take advantage of that if you're not using it. If your built-in webcam doesn't have a little cover, you can always put a little piece of tape over the front of the webcam, but try not to place it directly over the lens, or else it could damage the lens by leaving some, residue there. But cover the webcam until you need it. Third, you should always have good computer security software installed. I use ESET. That's ESET. We gave away some copies of that last weekend. Good software will flag any issues it detects on the computer, such as someone trying to remotely watch you through the webcam. Some web browsers do that as well. They'll let you know if your webcam is being activated, and you may be prompted to agree. Fourth, if you need to have your computer repaired, take it to a trustworthy source, or else they could secretly install spying software. This has happened in the past, where they can log in from afar and see what the webcam sees. Creepy, but it happens. So make sure you bring it to a trusted source, like a tech-savvy relative or to a professional. Fifth, and finally, another tip is to go to the webcam setting in Windows or Mac and enable some kind of notification when the webcam is enabled. You can have like a small light that turns on near the webcam, or some sort of sound that plays through your speakers. Anyhow, I hope that helps. Once again, you can reach out to me on Twitter, Mark with a C _ SALTZMAN. Or send me an email from my website, marksaltzman.com. Before we head into break, a quick shout out to my sponsor. This program is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to chat with a company called RightMesh about some amazing things they're doing overseas using technology. We'll be right back.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out, everyone. This show wouldn't be possible without the support of my sponsor, ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. It might sound impressive to hear that 3 billion people on this planet have access to the internet, but keep in mind the flip side to that. That means about 4 billion do not have online connectivity. To help bridge this digital divide, a Vancouver-based company called RightMesh is looking to connect those in the world, be it in poor countries or remote areas or a bit of both, through a next-generation mesh network. To explain what this is, how it works in plain English, and where they're at, we're joined by RightMesh CEO John Leotia. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you very much.
All right, so good technology, they say, solves a problem. So what is the problem that RightMesh is looking to solve?
I guess the best way to say what problem are we trying to solve is to actually go back a little bit further in time into how we actually started the company and why we started the company. So I started a parent company, Left, which is the parent company RightMesh, back in 2010. And we always had a bit of a perverse sense of humor. So we had a motto of we're left and we want to do things right. And really what that meant to us is that we wanted to go out and solve some of the world's biggest problems. And really what it came down to, the biggest problem we ever came across was that the technology infrastructure and communication infrastructure around in the emerging markets was very poor, was very overloaded, and frankly didn't work very well. And as a result, you had millions and millions, and as you said in the intro, billions of people being left behind. We thought we can solve that, but we really want to go out and find a way to allow people to connect and share and transact without using the internet.
I think it's fair to say that in many of these emerging markets. I stop myself from saying third world countries because I think that's a loaded phrase. But I think a lot of them who do have access to the internet, it's all on mobile devices. So it's cellular connectivity instead of what we often have in the West here, which is a high-speed broadband-based solution, maybe in the home or in the office or even in the car. Now, we're talking about using cellular connectivity, but your solution isn't even going that way either, correct?
Correct. And actually, I want to do a little clarification. It's not even cellular connectivity. They are on smartphones. They are on phones, but often those smartphones aren't connected to even cellular networks. And it's not that those signals aren't around in the air. You have about 96% of the population that's within range of a cell phone signal. It's just they can't afford to connect, and when they do, those networks themselves are overloaded. It's where you and I may be sitting on our nice laptops and having a grand old time. You have $50 smartphones. They're all Android phones. They're not iPhones or anything like that. They're all these sort of sub $50 smartphones that are now serving as these technology hubs of homes, of schools, of entire economies. And that's really what the device that people are using. So you may not have much, but you do have a smartphone.
All right. So then how does this next-gen mesh network that you're working on, how does it work exactly?
So the best way to think about it is think about your existing smartphone. I need to clarify, are you an Android user or an iPhone user?
I'm an Android user, yeah.
You're an Android user. That's very unusual for North America here. So, which is great. We're all for Android. They're great to work with from a technology standpoint. But as an Android phone, or even from an iPhone, your phone sends and receives signal. So if you're sitting there right now in the studio, you're actually sending out and listening to various signals that are floating around your head. It could be Wi-Fi, it could be Bluetooth. If you're close enough to a little payment thing, it might be that NFC for those very, very short distance payments. All those signals are floating around. And if you've ever connected your phone to your car stereo or one of those home speakers, you know sort of that the ability to connect is just something that your phone does. We've sort of taken it a bit of a different way, but used the same type of technology. If you send and receive signal, and my phone sends and receives signal, why do we need a middle box in the middle to transact and listen on our behalf? So if you and I are in the same room, we don't need to go from your phone up to the Wi-Fi router in the corner, up to the internet, over the cloud, over to a server with Facebook or Google or any other web-based service, and all the way back down the same line to me who's in the same room with you. The signal should just go from your phone to my phone, or your laptop to my laptop. As long as that device can broadcast and send signal, we can receive and transact and work between those devices. Where we sort of taken that one step further was that we realized that if you can send and receive signal, you're actually sending and receiving multiple signals at once. You may be receiving Wi-Fi, maybe receiving Bluetooth. There's a variation of Wi-Fi called Wi-Fi Direct. And what we can do is we can actually use all of those signals at the exact same time. So if I'm now talking to you with Wi-Fi, I may be talking to somebody else at the exact same time with Bluetooth or with Wi-Fi Direct.
Right.
And as soon as I do that, I'm now part of this giant chain that can connect device to device to device to device. And no internet is required in the middle of us.
Okay, but you do need some smartphone owners to have access to the internet. But the idea is that you're looking to reward those connected people to share their bandwidth with folks who aren't as privileged.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you and I are just sitting in a classroom in the middle of Africa, we can actually communicate and share and send messages and play games together and do various things as if we are connected to the internet. But we don't need to connect to the internet. It's just me to you.
Okay.
There is nobody in between. If we want to go and browse Google and look at some of the various other web services, then of course, yes, you would need access to the greater internet. But not everybody does. Only one phone in that entire network would need access.
Right. Okay. But for things like transactions, like you want to give me $5, we don't need the internet for that. We could just use our two devices that are nearby.
Correct.
Okay, got it. We'll continue our chat with RightMesh when we return right after this short break.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Check It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with John Leotia. He is the RightMesh CEO and co-founder of its parent company, Left. They're based in Vancouver, and they're looking to solve a big problem that there are billions of people out there who do not have access to the internet. They may have a mobile device, but they don't have fast and reliable wireless connectivity that we have here in the West. So I understand you're testing this in a very small and remote part of northern Canada right now, but you have even much more ambitious expansion plans. Talk to us about that.
Sure. So connectivity is a global problem and a global challenge, whether you are in northern Canada in remote communities or whether you are in rural India or Bangladesh. Connectivity is something that we all need around every day. If you look at where the connectivity challenges are, for the most part, is not in Canada, it's not in the United States, it's not in Europe, it's in Africa, it's in Southeast Asia, it's in the remote parts of the world that really need that help up, and right now are being left behind in this great digital divide we're creating. And really our goal is to go out into the communities, into the places that really need help, and empower them with a tool set that lets them build applications and really create an entire new way of connecting each other, and then to the greater world that we're living in.
All right, so then how does this work exactly? In theory, this sounds great on paper, but if your goal is to connect at least 1 billion people by 2020, which is from what I read, how are you rolling this out? Talk to us about the execution.
So the execution really goes down into our customer is not that end user. I guess the important distinction to understand is that it's not an app. Yes, we are creating applications ourselves, but really what we've tried to create is this underlying technology that any other app can use. So we're partnering with game companies, we're partnering with messaging applications, we're partnering with weather applications. Anybody who has an existing app can take our technology and incorporate it into their existing application, and now that application can be mesh enabled. So imagine you have a train scheduling application and you're servicing a city like Mumbai in India. There's about 10 million users of that train scheduling application, but every communication that occurs right now goes up to the internet, and it doesn't have to. Really what we're doing is working with companies like a train application to roll out, incorporate our technology, and then have that technology facilitate communication to other users on the mesh network. So if you have a train scheduling application and I have a train scheduling application, we can now talk to each other. But as soon as a new application comes onto the network that also has been mesh enabled, we can leverage the density created by that first application and really start basically building out that network from there. And really what we sort of stumbled upon was that people are motivated by self-interest, and if you gave them a financial incentive or payment to do the thing that you want them to do, they'll take that course of action.
That was going to be my last question about how do you reward those consumers for sharing their devices to be part of this mesh network. So it is a financial reward.
It is a financial reward, but it's not necessarily a financial reward paid by us. It's paid by the users themselves of the network or those who want to introduce things into the network. We have launched a cryptocurrency on top of our mesh network. It's allowing people to pay and transact and reward that behavior. So if I was to now use your data, I can reward you for use of that data. Or a third party, it might be an application company, it might be a media house, it might be a non-governmental organization. That NGO can actually pay for the data on behalf of those participating in that network. So that's really where we're sort of starting from a incentivization model, is that we know that we can go out and we can build the network, build the system, and have those users start to connect. And when they start to connect, the network itself grows and grows and grows.
So, John, where can our listeners learn more about RightMesh and the parent company, Left?
So the best place to learn about RightMesh is at rightmesh.io. That's input output. So RIGHT, as in we do things right, not WRITE, although we like to write as well. But rightmesh.io is where you can find us, and there's lots of information about the project and the team and all the exciting possibilities that we have in front of us.
Yeah, keep up the great work, John. This sounds ambitious, but it sounds fantastic. So good luck with this, and thank you so much for sharing your work with us. Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Anytime.
Hey, thanks for listening to Tech It Out, everyone. This program is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. I hope you enjoyed today's program. We first spoke with Intel about what to look for when shopping for a new PC. Then we shifted gears and spoke with Naman Jafar, the founder of Your Doctors Online, providing free online medical advice, even on your mobile device, and you can talk to a doctor as often as you like at no charge. And then we wrap things up with RightMesh. This is an ambitious initiative to connect people in developing countries with connectivity and rewarding those who are willing to share their connection. Thanks again for listening, everyone. Ciao for now.